Wow. That is really good. What? Everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Adorkable Rachel, and it's time once again for another episode of Rachel Reviews, so let's just hop into it. The Power Rangers movie! So to put it out there, no, I did not grow up with the Power Rangers when it was on TV in the early 90s, but I did see it in passing. Now, I do know that the show was about these 5 teenagers that morph into the Power Rangers so that they can fight off evil and monsters from outer space, I think. Also, the footage of them actually being the Power Rangers as well as going off to fight the monsters, that was actually stock footage from a Japanese show. It was a very, 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 very silly show. It was basically junk food for the small male brain. But it had action, it was colorful, the dialogue was horrendous, but the acting was alright. It was the 90s, what do you expect? The new movie is about the teenagers meeting each other as well as becoming the Power Rangers and learning about where their leader Zordon came from, as well as Rita Repulsa, the main villain. Get it? Like repulsive. The movie does start with this brief emotional scene between Zordon and Rita and them clashing against each other in the dinosaur era, apparently. And then the tone starts to suffer because in the very next scene, Jason, who's the leader, is playing a prank with a cow, and his friend who's with them kind of makes this like quip about how he just milked the cow even though it's a male cow. Oh, and not long after we also get the epic title card. Are you ready for this? I don't think you're ready for this. Literally, this is what it looked like. That was it. This is gonna be a long movie. Now, actually, to the movie's credit, that whole inappropriate cow milking joke, that was like the one really inappropriate joke in this movie. Thank God it didn't get much worse than that, but I mean, why in the world would you start a movie like that? I mean, you go from this like really decently dramatic scene and then you segue into this really incredibly silly scene. I mean, it's really hard to kind of get into the mood of whatever it is you want us to go for when you do that. So even though the review scores have not been that good for this movie, actually there was quite a bit that I enjoyed about it. We get introduced to the 5 main characters, they find the coins that turn them into the Power Rangers, and they discover the secret base, and then they spend like half the movie training for fighting, and then finally in the 3rd act they actually get to the fighting. Now what was pretty neat about these characters is actually exactly that. They bring a lot of character to these roles. They think it's really strange, they come to terms with it, they try to accept responsibility, they talk to each other, they actually have some tender moments. And by the end they really do feel like a team that's learned to work with one another. Of course, they are young actors, so they do have quite a few moments where their acting is very actory and it's not that impressive. But I also think that's in small part due to the fact that they know the lines that they're saying are really lame, so they're just kind of like trying to suck it up and say them as best they can. But for the most part, these characters were pretty likable and they were surprisingly tolerable to watch. Also, I have to give mad props to a superhero movie that has a main character that's autistic, another main character that's somewhat open about having attraction to women, and another main character that's Asian. Thank you for that movie, seriously. If this film is not that great, then at least it has diverse characters, which is really true to the original show. Elizabeth Banks as Rita was actually one of my favorite parts of the film. I don't remember much about the Power Rangers, but I do remember that Rita was the character who just literally hammed up every single second that she was on screen. I cannot even imagine what that would have been like if they brought that back. And Elizabeth Banks probably could have hammed it up more if she really wanted to, and in a couple of moments she does. But she actually got really serious and pretty dramatic with this role, and she just seemed like she was having a lot of fun with it. She was like weird and creepy, but it was also kind of like she just stepped out of a horror movie. And she actually plays a part in her evil, because like remember in the original show when she just like sat there on her planet or moon or whatever that was and just like sent her monsters down to kill everybody? Well, in this movie she does send out monsters to do stuff, but she actually does kill people herself too. She was legitimately evil and kind of intimidating. It's like, damn girl! Also, speaking of that planet that she was on the TV show, when she got slapped into space in this movie, I thought that that's where she was gonna go. You know, like maybe they would open opportunities for more sequels and maybe she was gonna start commanding people from there, but it's actually kind of questionable as to whether or not we're gonna see her ever again. Also, another performance I admit I really liked was Bill Hader as Alpha 5. Again, I remember in the show, he was a very, very, very annoying character. He always was doing that like, oh, obnoxious voice, someone shoot it. No! But here, I actually liked when he was on screen. He made the scene more enjoyable for some reason. You know what? Actually, that is something to be noted about this movie. I think what I really like about the characters in this film is that while they're definitely toned down compared to the TV show, they're not really boring either. They're actually just interesting enough that you really do buy into their performances. I do remember the sets and costumes being really cheap on the TV show, and the original, they also looked like they were just throwing punches in spandex. But here, the suits actually were more detailed, and they really do look like armor that's protecting the characters when they're fighting. I think some people had some issues with like the completely different look, but I thought they looked pretty cool. And for upgrading to a 2017 film, the set design was pretty neat too. The dark spaceship actually looked like a real spaceship that had been stuck in the ground for millions of years. You know, rather than the 90s sciencey headquarters. And even the Zordon effect was pretty nice. I mean, I like the design a lot better than the floating cloud head in the glass tube. By the way, Bryan Cranston was Zordon in this, and a lot like Elizabeth Banks, I'm pretty sure he went into this deciding that he was gonna take on this role, and he was gonna make sure that people can take a head in the wall seriously. No matter what role I'm in, you will like what I do. There's no denying me, I was Heisenberg, damn it! Now again, I didn't grow up with the show, so I don't know if all the throwbacks were correct or not, but I do have to give credit to this one shot they did where in the original they had the Zords that were all like lined up but like going off to fight the enemy, and you could see them all in one shot. They actually do recreate that shot when they're going off to fight the enemy in this movie, but it's also with the Power Rangers theme in the background, just different renditions. So even as someone who only saw a teensy bit of the show here and there, I do admit that is pretty cool. So what was bad about this movie? Well, it is a kid's film, so the dialogue once again is really not that amazing, and a lot of jokes when they were trying to be funny, it just wasn't funny. There was still a lot of really stupid lame tropes they put in there because it's a kid movie and kids movies need tropes, don't they? No, they don't. You just think they do. Other things not great about the movie. Well, I mean, the action kind of sucked. I mean, it was okay, but it was just kind of Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Oh, and then there's the product placement. I mean, it was just not subtle at all. At all. All I can say is they are literally name dropping this one particular product in the movie, and they use it as kind of like a plot point, and I just could not believe that they had sunk this low. I mean, I've seen obvious product placement, but this really takes the cake. Cake. I don't know how to describe it. You really need to go kind of see it for yourself, and honestly, I don't know if that obvious product placement was supposed to be a joke or ironic in some way, but very rarely do you see a movie that's so unapologetically blatant with its advertising without like making a joke out of it, and you should really actually check it out for that reason alone if you can. Now, to be picky, yes, I do think they could have upped the fun factor just a little bit more. I mean, the show was kind of dumb, but it was also kind of fun, and maybe this movie could have just been a little bit more fun. The dialogue was kind of stupid, yes, but again, that's very true to the original show. So you can kind of see what I mean with the drama and the comedy being a little bit confused with the balance. But what's also kind of interesting is I didn't really notice any big plot holes, at least not for a kids movie about teenagers who fight against monsters from space. There wasn't anything where I was just like, huh? God damn it. I think I might have actually had a good time watching this. Okay, I know there's a lot of jumbled thoughts in there, but here's what I'm basically saying. This film could have been a lot worse than it was. The young characters were pretty relatable, and the adult actors looked like they were having a lot of fun with what they were given, and there were some moments that genuinely surprised me. It's interesting though, because if you're a really big fan of the original, then I can kind of sort of understand why you wouldn't like the darker tone. I'm sure a lot of people have attachment to the original, but let's face it. It's sloppy, it's childish, it's cheap, and all around, it's not a very complicated TV show. If you're gonna make something like that today in the theaters, then of course people want to take it more seriously. And you want to try to just add a little bit more dignity and depth to everything. For what it was, I felt the movie did an okay job with that. The movie doesn't always know what it wants, but for being something that took a really silly and cheap idea and molding it into a 2017 feature film, it's actually not that bad. So kudos to this movie for going outside of my expectations. Now, unless you are a kid or if you grew up with the show and you are a fan of it, then you're probably not gonna find anything really salvageable about this movie. But you can still tell that the filmmakers were trying really hard to make something that was dignified and that you could keep up with, and from my firsthand experience, the kids really liked it. And yes, it's all about the kids in the end, so It's alright. And from what I've been hearing, the nostalgic fans are finding it alright too. Definitely not a great film, but it was a lot better than the other reboots we've seen recently, like the Transformers and the Ninja Turtles movies. Oh my god, just stop it already! Make a damn good film, will ya? So those are my thoughts on the new Power Rangers movie. So now this time around, I want to know, did you see the film? Did you like it? What do you think of it compared to the original? Did you even grow up with the show? And even if you didn't, did you find anything worthwhile in this movie? Well, go ahead and leave your comments below. Be sure to like and share. And if you're new and like what you saw here, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And also be sure to hit that little bell button down there to get notified when new stuff comes out. Because guess what, guys? I make new videos every week. Bye, Adorkable Buddies. I'll see you soon.
Go, go, Power Kitty!